Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the Global Energy Management Program today. My name is Kathy Staffick, and I'm so glad that you could be here with us. Today, we're going to do the third part of our fall webinar series, and it highlights our best resource, our faculty. It's one of our greatest differentiators. We want you all to get a better feel of what the program is all about, what our curriculum is about, our student experience, and how GEM makes this a very practical and real-world applicable degree. The best way for us to do that is for all of you to hear from our faculty members who are coming from the industry, bringing their expertise into the classroom and really being able to blend that academic theory with real world practice that is so important to the GEM students. And so with that, what I'd like to do is go ahead and get started. I want to tell you a little bit about the program. Most of you may know something about the GEM program, but I'd really like to give you an overview today of what we are, who we are from a curriculum standpoint, and then we'll jump into our panelist discussion, again, that features members of our faculty. So the GEM program is a graduate business program focused 100% on the energy industry. We started in 2009, and since that time, our program has really evolved to be an excellent resource for the energy industry for a lot of different professional development options. And two of the options that are really going to focus on today is our Master's of Science program, but also our executive education piece, which takes out courses from our master's program and allows individuals to earn certificates. Those certificate programs are really viable for people who aren't sure they're ready to jump into a master's degree, or if they already have a graduate degree and really want to hone professional development in a very specific area, they'll come in and take one of our certificate options, or they want to test us out before they start the program. That's what we're going to focus on today, is the curriculum in those two programs. If you would like to learn more about any of our three professional development pathways that I mentioned here, please reach out to me. You can schedule a call with me or a Zoom meeting. One thing I think is always important to talk about when you talk about the GEM program, and I always like to talk about this first just to keep key dates in mind, is that our next start date is in January. Our next class starts Friday, January 14th. So if you are interested in what you hear today and would like to get started soon and start the new year off right, please get your application in now. You still have time, but it's important you start it and get it in now. So let's talk about what to expect as a GEM student. Our faculty will mention a lot of the bullet points you see here, but I think it's important to have the context and the summary so you understand the conversation that's coming on later down the road for us. So first and foremost, logistics. The GEM program is a cohort-based program. What that means to you is that the group of students you start the program with ideally is the group of professionals you'll continue with throughout the entire program. This is a strength of our program. We've been doing this again since 2009. What we have found over the past 12 years is that our cohort-based students have a tremendous value and develop tremendous relationships with each other, because they're working together hand in hand on projects, taking courses together, often are great resources for each other. And they really develop lifelong relationships with each other because we are a cohort-based program. The typical pathway for the program and the pace is 18 months. That means that you're taking 2 courses every quarter. And that's very doable for the working energy professional who is also usually managing a very business work schedule as well as family priorities as well. We've developed this program for you specifically. We have cohort weekends. So what that means is at the beginning of every quarter or once every 3 months, you travel to Denver and you get 4 days of intensive in-person class time. This turns out to be a great foundation for the whole quarter. It's a great way to reconnect, meet classmates, meet your faculty, get a strong base, because then the rest of the quarter is actually going to be administered online. And that online portion gives you the flexibility to complete this program while you're working full time. The online portion is asynchronous, which means that you do the coursework at a time in the day when it's convenient for you. We have the courses structured so that you have check-ins every week, usually assignments, course discussions, readings and videos to complete. It's a very engaging online portion. And again, our faculty will touch on some of these pieces as well. And then finally, you have group projects. The group projects are very similar to what you complete on your day-to-day responsibilities for your job, where you may pull from groups with different disciplines, different backgrounds. But what makes GEM so valuable and so unique to all of you is the fact that now these group projects are not going to be done with people solely in oil and gas or solely within the utility space. You're having the opportunity to work on projects and work with people across sectors of the industry. And that is a really key talent that you are getting and a real benefit that the program is offering for you and will help you develop into a leader for the energy industry and the upcoming energy transition that we're having. Again, just a couple of benefits that I haven't already mentioned is that along with this cross-functional group learning, you will also learn alongside these individuals from different companies, from different sectors and different parts of the world. That means that they share the same passions you do about the energy industry. You all may have different viewpoints, but you really will learn from each other because there's a lot of expertise in that room, not just from our faculty that we have here. There's also flexibility with our program. We typically have cohorts start in January and July, but we do offer what we call off-term start dates in April and October. And I'm always available to talk to you about what your options are with these different start dates, because we want to start the program when it works best for you. Finally, the hybrid online design gives you, as I mentioned, that flexibility. It gives you the benefits of in-person learning, making those connections, feeling a bond with the GEM community, and then being able to have the flexibility to work and travel and have your family responsibilities as well. One of our other key features that you may not find in other programs similar to GEM is that we have developed 4 main core competencies in our curriculum. These competencies are very similar to what a lot of people are evaluated against when it comes time for employee evaluations, those annual evaluations. They are based on ethics and integrity. They're based on business acumen, leading and managing, and knowledge of the industry. What makes us so unique is not only that we have these four competencies interwoven throughout our curriculum, but we have them actually mapped to each course's learning objective. And that is incredibly powerful. One, because as a prospective student weighing what program you should decide to go to, it gives you a very tangible understanding of what you're going to learn and the skills you're going to acquire in this program. But students have also utilized this to take back to their HR and benefits department, so that if you're looking to get some tuition reimbursement, you have this tangible document and you understand where the program is coming from. Again, it really helps to bring home the point that this degree is very applicable to the real world and actually provides an immediate ROI for our students who go through the program. So with that said, what I'm going to do is move into the faculty component of this, and we're going to have our faculty members introduce themselves. After that, I'm going to ask each faculty member questions. A lot of these questions come from all of you. They're our most frequently asked questions. It's what prospective students want to know about the GEM program, but also we'll have other faculty join in and give you their take on how they approach certain questions and topics as we go through. So what I'd like to do is have Jenny start. Jenny, can you start and introduce yourself? And also not only introduce yourself, talk about why you teach for the GEM program.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today. I love everything about this. So my professional background is I've been in renewable energies for over 17 years. So I've been very fortunate to be focused in renewables for that whole time and immersed deep within different sectors. So I worked for the government, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and I've worked for a consulting company, formerly CH2M Hill, now Jacobs, but it was CH2M Hill when I was there. And then most recently, and for the most amount of that time, I've been in a private development company called Renewable Energy Systems. So boots on the ground development, boots on the ground construction, and boots on the ground ownership of utility scale renewable energy assets, solar, wind, and battery storage. So I have gone from, like I said, government to consulting to private. And within private, I started as boots on the ground developer. So finding sites and everything like that. And then I went to a corporate role. And now I'm into an operations area. And my current role, my day job, in addition to teaching, is Director of Operational Excellence for Renewable Energy Systems. And to answer why I teach for GEM, so I'd say one of the key concepts that's very close to my heart is value add. And simply put, GEM was a value add to me when I was a student. So I'm a former GEM student. It has been a value add as an alumni of the program. It's been a value add in my role on the advisory council for GEM. And the last missing piece, of course, was then being an instructor. And that is actually where I've got the most value. I love GEM. I love the students. I love the program. I feel very fortunate that I get to learn from the students. I think it's a mutually beneficial relationship where they learn from me, but I get to learn equally. So it continues my mantra of always seeking things professionally and personally that add value. And so that's why I teach for GEM.
Thank you. That's fantastic, Jenny. Jill.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Engel-Cox, and a little bit about my background. I got degrees in mechanical engineering and also environmental science. And with those, and also a liberal arts degree. And so with that background, my career has really spanned the spectrum across energy and environmental areas. I've also worked in several countries, including in Asia and the Middle East. And so I've tried to bring the perspective of different locations and different regions to the program. My current work is focused on renewable energy, where I've been looking at, I manage a group that does analysis across renewable energy. But my focus on that has been on the intersections of that renewable energy with other sectors. So oil and gas, nuclear energy, energy efficiency, transportation, and all of those areas. In the past, I have worked for oil and gas companies. I have worked with colleagues that study nuclear energy, and so a broad perspective on the energy sector. So the class that I teach is an introduction to energy, and it covers, it brings all of that experience to it. So why I teach for GEM, I really enjoy the engagement with the students. And because the students at GEM all have a keen interest in energy, they are all here getting their degrees because they're very interested in furthering their education and furthering their careers in the energy sector. Sometimes it's changing from one type of energy focus to another, or just expanding their knowledge. But they see themselves as energy professionals. And I find that very, very dynamic and very exciting to work with students that are really focused on their energy career. And I feel like they often bring so much new knowledge and experience in different sectors. And so I feel like we're always learning from each other during the class, and that's what makes it very exciting. So also love the program, love teaching for GEM, and it's just a wonderful place to be.
Thank you so much, Jill. That's fantastic. And Gary, who has been with us since cohort 1, would you please introduce yourself?
Cohort 1, yeah, back in 2009. It seems like a long time ago, but it really isn't that long. But my background is I'm a certified public accountant. I worked in public accounting for a number of years, and then I went to work in the private sector for an oil company, and that oil company took me overseas. So a little bit like Jill, I spent 10 years overseas in 5 different countries in South America and in the Middle East, which I think does bring a unique perspective to the energy industry. So even though I worked for an oil company, I've also worked on gas transportation and the private equity side of the industry in terms of investing. And then I've also worked on synthetic fuels for a number of years as well. So not just exclusively in oil and gas. And I teach the managerial accounting course for the GEM program. But you know, we've been involved. I've been involved in the program from the beginning. And I think the choice, the way I look at it, is that we all have a choice to make with how we spend our time. You know, and I think the instructors, what they bring to the table that a generic MBA program may not bring is going to be that experience in energy. You know, that we talked about boots on the ground, where you have that hands-on experience that you can bring to the table and make it relatable and make it applicable. And I think that's one of the advantages for the program. And that's, you know, where I choose, where I think if it's going to add value to the students and to the program, that's why I would participate in that. If I didn't think I could add value, if I didn't think the program itself had value, then I'd make a choice and spend my time elsewhere. But I've been involved since the first cohort for a reason, because I think the program does bring a unique perspective to students in the energy industry and the value that it brings to them as they move forward in their career.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gary. And Stephen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen C. I have been with the program since the very beginning, and absolutely love the program so much that I traveled twice a year, living in the Middle East, back to Denver just to teach for the 4 days in the program, and then fly back to the Middle East. My background is the last 35 years in human resources in various talent roles. I spent a decade and a half with Saudi Aramco. And for the last 3 years, I've consulted with the top 8 energy companies on 4 continents. I'm headed out actually today to fly overseas. I work primarily in the human resource and talent areas. And one of the things that attracted me to the program was the focus on energy as a whole, not just one area, but allowing me as an HR professional to bring in, to help students really build their credibility and create a focused and a learning mindset around how human capital can help them individually and help them with their companies. And looking at compensation, benefits, employee relations, labor relations, things like that, but how it applies to energy and how it applies to multinational and global organizations is very important, not just to the program, but to me as well. And I have a personal mission of changing lives, creating opportunities, and helping people help themselves. And this program helps foster that. And that's why I'm still with the program.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you all for being here. I know you're very busy, and you can just see the expertise that we have lined up for you today. And these are 4 members of our faculty. This reflects what the rest of our faculty looks like, the expertise and the passion for the GEM program. So now what I would love to do is move into the question and answer period, where I'm going to ask each faculty member, again, those questions that all of you tend to ask when we have conversations and meetings. And then we will spend time at the end of this program for our participants. If any of you have specific questions, please use that chat feature and or raise your hand so that we can answer your specific question as well. Jenny, since we started first with you with the introduction, I'm going to have you answer the first question for us. Tell me a little bit about how you keep your course content relevant to current market issues and trends, because energy is moving fast and always evolving.
Right. Great question. And it's easy. It's my day job. So the course I teach is renewable energy, and when I'm teaching, I can't differentiate the two. So I'm going to have a day at work, and I'm always scribbling things on the side thinking, oh, I got to raise that with my students. Oh, I need to post that to my students. And so the lines merge, and the day job and the teaching come together, and I can't not compartmentalize it. It has to come into class. So for instance, Res happens to have an office right across the street from where COP26 is happening, across the street, across a river in Glasgow, Scotland. Amazing office. They're hosting this energy transition hub with Renewable UK and Energy UK. And I found out you can live stream from it. So I thought, wow, I just got this in my work email. I'm going to go post this so my students can see it. I can't, my course can't not be current because it's on the top of my brain. It's a lot easier for me to remember what happened today than what happened 6 months ago. So by the nature of it truly being my day job, it becomes very easy for me, and maybe almost too much to my students, because I'm blasting them all the time with go check this out, relevant information. And one thing about my course that some students really love is there's no book. And so a little bit ago, people would say, where's the book on renewable energy? Jenny, I want to go read a book. And I would say, there isn't a book, because as soon as a book is written, policy, regulation, the environment has changed. So sure, yes, I had one student challenge me, said, there's a lot of good books on it. And I said, well, that's great. But what I'm going to give you is what's happening today. Right. What is out, what is my forecast for the next 3 years based on a real world look at what's going on today? So that's how my course is relevant. It has to be, because I have no book, no publication that has a timestamp on it that serves as a foundation. It's literally what's going on in the news and the industry and the policy and the regulation today as we speak.
And I assume that translates also into your assignments and expectations for your course, because you sort of have this rollout for your course as part of the group project from start to commercialization. And like you said, on your day-to-day, on your day job, things change instantly. So a project might be heading one direction, and then all of a sudden something changes, and you have to account for that direction change.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Stephen, Gary, or Joe, anything also to add? I know all of you keep your course very relevant to what's going on in the industry. Would you like to tack on to any of Jenny's comments?
Certainly. With any type of employee relations laws in the US, it changes constantly. So while the textbook that we use may be static, it may not change much. What we do is we collect information from SHRM and other areas, and we share that with the students in terms of labor relations, employee relations, FLSA, how much you get paid, which is always interesting to students, and the laws that surround that. But it's not a course on laws. The human capital course is not a course on laws. It's more of a course on how do I, as a leader and as a manager within the company, help implement human capital strategies. And that really changes frequently. And in working multinationally, I can take the real world application versus the theory. And I think that's what everyone on this call and the other faculty bring is we can give you some theory, but we give you a lot of real world application and what's going on. And it really helps you help yourself.
That's fantastic. And now with the paradigm shift, thanks to COVID, I'm sure it's keeping your consulting business very busy, because now, the human capital management piece now just got more complicated with, people working from home for the past year. And now a lot of people wanting some type of flexibility, not wanting to go back into the office Monday through Friday.
It's a mind shift between what was before 2019 to what is now. And you have different leaders and managers and organizations that if a person is not at their desk, they're not working. And the mindset has changed. It's moved on. It's not going to go back. So how do you lead and manage the human capital in that environment? And that's some of the things that we're currently talking about right now in our current course.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Anybody else? I'm going to move in oh, Gary, are you, or did you raise your hand or? Okay, just want to make sure. I'm going to move in, Jill, for you. And this is a really great question because your course is one of the first courses that a student takes coming into the program. And how do you really merge the different industry sectors into the 10 weeks that you teach for us and in this course? Because there's so much that you can cover. And we really pride ourselves on being an all energy curriculum. And it starts, I think, really with your course. So tell us a little bit more about your approach to that.
Yeah, so what I love about my course is that it does cover all that energy sector. So it's an overview class. It's GEM 6000, so it's meant to be one of the introductory classes. And in order to sort of organize the information, because it's so much that we're trying to cover, I put it in the context of history and geography, and that way it's got. That way that it covers the way energy evolved and developed over time. So I start with the early human, wood, animal, basic fundamentals of energy, then go into coal, and then move into oil and gas, and then go into nuclear and renewables, and sort of progress the different energy types as they grow over time and change over time. And one of the things as we're doing that context is I also talk a lot about the different resources in different locations and how the resources may influence the way different countries or different regions of the United States may select their energy choices and how they move forward with it. I also then cover a lot of around the end use, so electricity, transportation, industry, and how energy factors into those different elements in order to cover all of this. And the final thing that I do, and this gets to your first question about how I keep the information relevant, is that students come from a lot of different backgrounds. And I know a little bit about a lot of these energy types. Some I know more about than others. And so I also encourage the students to bring their experience in these different sectors, either in the oil and gas sector or the power sector, and to share that knowledge with others, either from their specific field, or if they're from a different country or a different part of the US, what they're doing in California versus what they're doing in New York, and what they're doing in their different locations. So that's how I try to cover all those topics over that time. And I apologize for my phone ringing in the middle of all that.
That is no problem whatsoever. Based upon that, I want to ask you one additional question. What growth do you see from your students? Because you may have somebody who has 10 years of experience in utilities or 10 years in oil and gas. Now all of a sudden you're giving this broad exposure. What growth have you seen with your students and just their understanding of the industry over those 10 weeks because of your approach?
Yeah, so we get a lot of students that are in one particular field. Maybe they're in renewables, maybe they're in oil and gas, and they're coming to the GEM program because they want to expand their knowledge across the entire energy sector. So both in my case, it's more from a technology perspective, but for other instructors, it would be wanting to learn more about other parts of the business, the finance side, the human resources side. And so I've seen students completely transition to other fields, move from one field into another. I've seen them take their career to maybe they focused on geothermal and now they're interested in how that relates to oil and gas and how that they may integrate the different technologies together into power systems or industrial systems. And so that's one of the things that it's been interesting to see. The student growth has typically been to broaden and expand their engagement or to transition from one field into another because they were interested into a career transition, but still remaining in the energy industry.
That's fantastic. And that's great to hear because we're getting more and more people are interested in this program because they want to build that optionality into their career, and they like our all energy approach as well.
Yeah, and at the same time with GEM, with the fact that there's the team projects and the specialized projects, they can choose a topic that is of most interest to them. So they can dive deep into a specific topic with their team members that they wanted to explore, while at the same time getting the broader perspective from the overall class.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, I want to be careful with time here and move on to our next question, which is for Gary. And Gary, you touched on this a little bit in your introduction of, and this is a question that a lot of students ask, why GEM versus an MBA? And I think this is a great question for you because not only based upon your experience, but your own educational background as well. You know, coming from a business background, but also you've seen the evolution the industry has taken over the past few decades of your career, and how things have changed. Why should someone who is interested in having a career in the energy industry select the GEM program over an MBA?
I think we touched on a lot of those. I mean, Jill specifically just talked about it a little bit, is that, you know, I guess the first question that a prospective student has to ask is, why do I want to get an advanced degree?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if all you're after is to be able to check the box and then move up one grade level in your current company, then the GEM program is probably not what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If, however, you want a degree that gives you specialized knowledge in an area that is not going to go away. You know, oil and gas may diminish over time, and we may replace that with other forms of sources of energy and renewables. But energy is not going to go away. So the question is, if you want to work in that field, if that's where your goals are, why would you just get a generic degree? Because really, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is, one, maximize the benefit of your time in terms of your learning experience, and then distinguish yourself from an employment standpoint from all the other people out there that have the generic MBA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you're looking for from employment in the energy field, why would you get a generic MBA? What you go in with a Master's of Science in Energy from the GEM program, that's going to distinguish yourself with a prospective employer. That's going to set you apart. That's going to show that you have a focus, that you have an interest that the other students don't have or other applicants don't have. So I think what you're doing is taking that knowledge base and maximizing the use of your time and maximizing what you want to do on a go forward basis with your career. Whereas this, I think, provides that benefit over just a generic type of degree. And I know, Stephen, you probably, being in HR, could probably add to that. But I think that's why I look at the program where it has benefits.
Yeah, I think that if I may, Kathy,
Yes.
I think that I agree with Gary. If you're ticking a box and you want to go up a level, probably not the right program. Could be useful, probably not. But if you want to tick 5 boxes and move up multiple levels, I would probably consider the energy program.
That's great. That's a very good way to put it. And thank you both for articulating it that way, because I think it is really important to consider sort of the thought process. Why do you want this degree first and foremost? And then what is it going to do for you? And do you want to move up one box, or do you want to move up 5? That's extremely valuable. And so I think one of the things that we've established a few things with this conversation is, one, the expertise of our panel, of our faculty, the passion they have for the GEM program, and what they bring to the courses. But one of the things that I have seen time and time again since the program started in 2009 is the engagement of our faculty outside of the classroom. And that is a very important differentiator, especially when you're talking about a program that's partially online. We want to make sure our students feel engaged. So Stephen, can you talk a little bit about your engagement with students outside of the classroom, whether that be outside of the online setting, or just a lot of times I've seen our faculty, provide career advice or opinions about what to do on a certain project and expertise. And Gary, I know you've done that as well for a lot of our students who have some entrepreneurial flair as well. So Stephen, talk to me a little bit about that experience that you've had as you've taught for the program?
One of the things I like about the program is that we have differing socioeconomic backgrounds that come into the program. And one of the things that I appreciate with the program is deeds trump privilege. Doesn't matter where you came from, what you do, how you do it, and the outcome you get really trump any type of privilege that you may come in with. So hard work equals, big gains, if you will. One of the things that I do is I continually work with students all the time. And I'm sure, Kathy, that's why you wanted me to answer the question here, is constantly around, I'm having an issue at my job. What are the legal or social implications, economic implications if I do this versus that? So really, it's more of a coaching role after they finish the course, sometimes even in the course. But after they finish the course, I just hold up a mirror and say, what do you think? Here's all the knowledge that you've learned. Let's take pieces of it and let's help you answer that yourself. And so being a sounding board is really one of the largest roles, if you will, of what I do with students outside of class. But I can tell you in the last 11 years, 12 years with the program, I probably had 60 to 70 students outside of class talk about employee relations, compensation, benefits, working in a multinational organization, and the socializing from the US to that particular area of the world. What are the best ways to do that? And so providing resources and being a sounding board is what we as faculty do for the GEM students and graduates.
I was just going to say, and it doesn't stop at graduation, does it?
No. No.
Anybody else want to comment about sort of, outside of the classroom, how you engage with students? Okay, again, want to be sensitive to time. This is a question I'll first pose to Jill, and then Gary, I'd love for you to chime in because you've got such a great structure with your accounting class. We're designed for full-time energy professionals. Everybody's always concerned about bandwidth. How do I do this program while I'm working? I've got family responsibilities. So talk to me a little bit about how you structure your course, how you work with students to be able to complete the course and help them get the maximum out of the GEM program, learn what they need to learn, but still juggle all of their other priorities.
Yeah, what a great question. So first off, I was there. When I went back for my PhD, I was in my mid-30s and I was working full-time. And so I really understand that when you make a commitment to a graduate program while working, you are committing your nights and your weekends and different spare time. And so, I do have that in mind when students come to me and are maybe trying to sort out how they fit into their program or into their life. And it's doable. And it's just sometimes a matter of being able to talk through priorities and understand that. Ways I structure my class to address that is making sure that there's very clear goals and very clear assignments that build on each other so that there's the expectation is clear of when things will be due, what needs to be done within those. Oftentimes in the assignments, I try to have it so that there's drafts that are due along the way so that there's a lot of time for comment and input from me as well as from other students. And that helps not to fall behind. It can be challenging if you just have a big assignment due at the end of the semester because that's really hard to manage your time to really accomplish. So I try to build the class so that there's interim goals so that you are working on drafts, you're getting feedback, you're engaging, and then it builds to a final assignment. I try to make the information available in multiple formats that can be accessed as needed so that people can access it when they have time and when it works for their schedule. Some of my assignments, I have an option, they can turn them in different formats. So some students can effectively write a paper really quickly, and others would prefer to do a video format. So a couple of my assignments, it's student choice, whether they prefer a video format or a written format. And that enables them to work in a way that works for their lifestyle as well as their learning preference. And then Students, some of the topics within assignments are flexible, so they can choose things that they maybe have a little bit of experience with, or they have such a keen interest that they want to research that it kind of integrates with their job and with their professional life as well. And they can bring that experience into the class. And then finally, I just try to listen and then sometimes allow for flexibility if that's necessary, because I know what people are doing to and know that they're there because they want to be. And sometimes it's just a matter of prioritizing and organizing their life to be able to get things done.
That's fantastic to hear. And I think that probably helps with a lot of those concerns, knowing that one, the faculty understand where they're at. And, you know, the courses are purposely designed and organized to help them fit this in. Gary, how about for you with your course?
Yeah, I think what I do is very similar. One thing I think about the GEM program is where we have, you know, basically the 9 weeks of lectures, for the most part, are all pre-recorded. So if the student wants to listen to them over their lunch hour, they want to do the reading over lunch, or I've had some students, you know, would put it onto MP3 player and they'd listen to it on their bus ride home from work or whatever, however they could best manage their time. So I think the program gives you that flexibility. One thing I do is I actually put a Gantt chart together for the entire course, as far as saying, here's what your assignments are due, here's the topic for that week, you know, so they can look out on one piece of paper exactly when everything is due for the entire term. And I've had some students then take that and then add their other course on there so they can see all their deadlines and so forth to make sure they don't have conflicts. So you can see everything up front. You know, I open up my, you know, we have specific deadlines as far as when things are due. But I also will open up the class or the material 1 to 2 weeks in advance. So if somebody is traveling or has another conflict, they can work ahead if they want to. We've had students that were working on a rotation schedule, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. We've had them on drill rigs. We've had them out on tankers out in the offshore that had limited accessibility to internet. So by working ahead, they could accomplish what they needed to on those deadlines. And then I think the other thing is, even though we have very specific deadlines, life happens. And you know, if I've had students, and we've all had students that have come in at the last minute, have had a conflict, have had a problem, and we'll figure out a way to make it work. I had students when earlier on one time, you know, classwork was due, homework was due Sunday night at midnight. And the student sent me a text in the middle of the afternoon on Sunday and said, hey, my wife and I went out for our anniversary dinner last night. We both got food poisoning and I can't get out of bed. And I've got homework due. What do I do?
Yeah.
You know, those are situations where you say, hey, we'll work with you. We'll figure out a way to make it work. So, you know, so I think the professors understand that there is life, you have other responsibilities, but at the same time, we all have responsibilities and need to be accountable for that. But I think the professors will work with the students when they can to make, you know, to be successful. You know, we'll figure out a time schedule, we'll figure out an option, we'll figure out something to make it work for both parties.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. One thing I want to remind our audience is that we're getting close to the Q&A time for you. Feel free to put any of your questions in the chat feature down below on your menu bar if you want to specifically ask a question to our panelists. And then I am also always available for a call or Zoom meeting. My information is on our website, and you can schedule something as well. So the last question I have, and I'm gonna again, Jenny, I'm just gonna have you go first again, and then I'll ask Stephen to chime in. And again, it evolves around engagement. A lot of students are concerned about online learning and feeling engaged. What do you do in your classes specifically to make sure that engagement is still there during the online portion?
Great question, and something I can answer with a much larger smile. Thanks to COVID.
Yeah.
COVID has done some things, and this has caused me to rethink how I ran that portion of the 9 weeks. And it's basically equated to last time I taught, I thought, well, why don't I try doing a live lecture? So I did one and they all showed up and I thought, so this time when I taught, I started out thinking I'll do one live lecture. I think I'm officially doing 7 of my 9 following weeks lectures live. And it's been amazing. And I realize the intense value of it. Number one, I'm not talking to myself, making a recording, which bores me. So why should I expect somebody else to be entertained by it? And yesterday we did a live lecture and they were able to say, hey, can you hang on? And we talked about the assignment. And it was just great to have that personal interaction with the students. And it was so much better than an email. And yeah, that works. I will engage with you over email or text or however you want to communicate. But I would say the number one thing that thankfully COVID presented an opportunity for me to realize was engaging in a live lecture. Now it's optional. It gets recorded the week before that specific topic is going to be up. So life happens, like Gary said, you're not always going to be able to step away at lunchtime, noon Mountain every Wednesday for 9 weeks. But when you can, it's been fantastic. And so that I think is something I will strive to keep. And yeah, so that's how I've been engaging and making kind of course corrections as of this term.
Fantastic. Stephen, how about you for your course?
Well, there are 3 types of learners: the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. And what we try to do, and what I try to do in my classes, is touch each of the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners through lectures, through visual representations at my whiteboard in my office, and they're watching me teach, or to tell stories and relay experiences that people can feel the emotion from and learn from. So touching the basics of the 3 types of learners. But really what I do in the class is, once people understand that it's about building their credibility and it's about matching impact and intent, and using the 3 learning styles, they really get involved. And I think it's the extra questions. I think it's allowing them to lead certain discussions. It's intense debates in the class, and not just face-to-face, but online. So creating that learning environment that addresses the styles of learners, but also having dynamic and impactful and up-to-date information in terms of content. But more importantly, and the last thing, is to show how it affects them as an individual in their work experience and their future employment.
That's very valuable, especially for a human capital class where discussions and engagement is such a key piece to what you do. And I've sat in your live lectures when they're on campus, and there is such robust discussion. I think that's a fantastic approach. Once again, for anybody in our audience today, please, now's the time to ask any questions at the Q&A feature or chat feature, whichever your preference is on either of those. Before we wrap up today's discussion, I'll give people a couple minutes.
Maybe while people put a question, and I'll go back. I want to be conscious of time, but since we have a minute here, I just wanted to hit on engaging with students out of the classroom. So being with renewables, I get a ton of informational interview inquiries. And one of the things that I have fortunately done, I think I say fortunate because it's to the benefit of my students, is I prioritize you.
Yeah.
So you come at the top of the stack for those conversations about, Jenny, I'm going out for this interview. What do I do? Michael Orlando and I got on the phone with a student reached out to me and said, he actually had to complete a financial pro forma for an interview. And I said, absolutely, I'll help you because I need to dust those skills off.
Right.
But let's bring Michael in. And
Yeah.
it was really cool. And we spent 2 hours, one afternoon, one evening, and we went through this. And that's the type of stuff I can offer. And I think all of us will offer as our students, because we do get a lot of inquiries, and it's at some point you have to prioritize. And that's where my students go to the top of the stack, is you do get time to I'll give you an hour and we're going to talk about professional development. We're going to talk about opportunities, how to take a utility skill set and apply it to renewables, or how to take a renewable skill set, apply it to utilities, or oil and gas to renewables, whatever. So that's one way that I engage with the students outside of the classroom.
Well,
I'd like real quick, Kathy, I'd like to say something about what Jenny just said, and she's fantastic at doing that. And something that potential students need to know, and Jenny touched on, is we're here because we want to be, not because we have to be. And that's key. None of us on this call have to be here. We're here because we have a passion for learning and teaching, and we have a passion for the industry that we're in. And I think both of those combined with the quality and level of students that attend the program create wonderful outcomes for the program, but more so the students.
And also to add even further onto that, what Jenny talks about is, and we didn't really touch on, is the network to be able to do that. If you need someone who's got a finance background, now all of a sudden you have this network and someone to go and learn from or ask. We do have one question here from Brian. Brian says, I'm a very active learner, always asking many questions to engage with meetings and class content. How does this learning approach work with online lectures? Anybody want to take that? Go ahead, Gary.
Very good. Yeah, I think it's a good question because you are in a remote setting. But I think at a minimum, what you have is a couple of things. One is that I think everybody, if you're not doing live lectures during the 9 weeks after the cohort weekend, we're still doing office hours of some form where we're setting up time specifically each week to allow students to engage. I know all the professors will engage one-on-one as needed with a student, whether it's through a Zoom or phone call or whatever it might be. So there's always that opportunity for active engagement. We also do, one of the things that's a requirement is a discussion board where there is active discussion about topics that the instructors post to get people engaged around that particular class. So there's engagement at a number of different levels, but I think there's always the opportunity to engage with the other students and the instructors through what, for lack of a better term, office hours that are set up each week. So if you're not doing a live lecture, I always do at least an hour a week of set up a time and say, hey, if you have questions, if not, here's the topic we're going to talk about, and make that available.
Yeah, my discussion boards in my class are always very active. I often try to post a little bit more provocative questions, so it's not just kind of the facts things that we're working on. It's it's about an issue that's going on. It's about something that maybe people might have different opinions, and so you get a very active discussion on that. The live office hours, which in my case I leave open to whatever questions the students want to bring and to ask, and then I'll also emphasize that GEM with the classes has a team project that's involved with each class. So that's an opportunity for you to engage with your teammates very actively. And that's not a passive listening process. That's a meeting once or twice a week with your fellow students, writing, engaging, putting things together, putting videos together, collaborative effort. So that's definitely a very active process for that as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you to you all. I want to be, again, sensitive to everybody's time here and wrap things up. Again, as I said a few times now, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to have a call or a Zoom meeting with you. My Calendly link here goes directly to my calendar, so you could schedule a time that works best for you. Also, if you're interested in the program, get started on your application for one of our start dates. The next main start date coming up is January. There's still time to apply. If you have any questions about the application process, please let me know. You can also start one of our off-term start dates in April or October. Again, we're here. We're here for you. As you can see, this program is designed for that working professional, and it's also very, very doable. So thank you, all of our wonderful panelists, members of our faculty, Always great to see you and to hear you talk about the GEM program and why you've been engaged with the program for such a long time. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.